Oh, that's funny. You've got to start laughing. Stop laughing before we start the podcast, I guess, right?
Was I laughing? That requires energy. I don't believe I was laughing. I think I was smiling, looking off into the distance.
I'm laughing just at the dazed look on your face. See, that's why you need coffee.
I can't do caffeine.
Yeah, I know.
That stuff messes with me big time.
See, that's why I'm so amazing and energetic all the time.
Yeah, but so imagine all the energy I do have for the fact that I don't do coffee.
Oh, yeah. So don't. Yeah. Okay, Melissa, don't drink coffee. I don't know.
You change your mind.
Do you want more of Melissa? Or do you want Melissa just as she is?
According to one of our latest reviews, I think they do. Did you see the best review ever?
No, I haven't looked at reviews for a while.
Oh, then don't look.
Okay.
No, let me tell you.
Okay.
I just saw one, which actually, it's funny. No, I mean.
Well, I was looking at like over 600 reviews.
Yeah, I think
we dipped down to 4.5 stars, but I don't think you saw it. It was like a week ago, and then we went right back up to 5.
I try not to really look that often. I know I sent this to Steve because okay, so this review was, I think, yesterday, maybe. And it says, first, do you want to welcome everybody in? Want to welcome in?
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well.
When you open the door for somebody else.
Welcome in, everybody, to the vaccine conversation with Melissa and Dr. Bob.
We have missed you guys.
Yeah. Well, you haven't missed us because you've been getting podcasts, but we've missed you.
No, they have. You know why? Because we had one release 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And then the second episode of this week's not coming out until today. So
right.
Really,
so,
I think there's a little withdrawal happening.
Probably missed us too. But yeah, I totally agree. I miss doing this because it's not only, I think, we get to talk and connect, but yeah, I totally feel that connection with the listeners. I do.
And there's so many things to be able to talk about and share, so that's exciting.
I know. Exactly.
But back to the review.
Yeah.
Which it says 5 stars. I see we're at 5 stars now. By the way, I'm really tired. Yeah. So in case you guys, this is my tired radio voice. Which, you know what? For many of you out there, this might be preferential. You might actually like this version of me better. And we'll talk about that on another podcast today.
Yeah.
But I am exhausted, but I will get revved up as this goes along. You will probably hear the difference between the beginning of this episode and the end. But here is a review, which is great. It says, this is entertaining as well as educational. I love this. Is on iTunes. It said, it's a great conversation. Just the right combination of entertainment and information, which I think was always your goal, right? Is to have that level of communication.
Me with the entertainment and Melissa with the information.
Sure.
Right.
And this guy, whoever you are, I love you. It said, initially, I came to listen to Dr. Bob, but I stayed to listen to Melissa. Isn't that the sweetest?
Yeah, I'm just going to stop you there because I totally get that, because that's exactly what I thought the first time I saw you speak. No, seriously,
thanks.
I totally thought the same thing.
But he said, don't feel bad, Dr. Bob. You contribute to the conversation too. But I thought, I actually just love that review. Not at all because it says anything negative about you, but because I don't think it does. But it's nice to know. Somebody could be like, who is Melissa? Why is she talking about this? And you know what? I share some of those sentiments. I mean, why am I talking about this, and what makes me quote unquote qualified to have this conversation? And the only thing I can say is I have met some of the most educated and intelligent parents who have so much to contribute. They have so much to offer. They have, exceptional educational backgrounds with years of professional skills that they've had in whatever their lines of work. And to discount all of these people because they are not doctors or are not public health officials, I think is a bad way to go for our movement because there is so much to contribute, and we are already demonized as just being parents, but they forget that these parents are attorneys, and these parents are healthcare practitioners, and these parents are CEOs and presidents and scientists. These are people that have bachelors in science, people that have masters in science, people that have PhDs. We're talking about people that run some of the best and biggest and the types of businesses that contribute to the world on their own life. And then all of a sudden, when it comes to this issue, they're just parents. There's so much irony in that. And so I'm just a parent with a high educational background and a professional background who felt like I had something to contribute to this. And I'm meeting lots and lots of parents just like me. And so I encourage people. And I've had lots of people message me that are just like me, saying, "Oh, I listened to the podcast, and this is what I do." And their extensive, credentials and their resume is just so impressive, and they're finding their voice in this movement. So we are all parents, even people like Dr. Bob, who is a doctor but also a parent. We are all parents. And we all have something to contribute. So please, anybody out there, don't let anyone tell you, why does your voice matter on this debate? Or why should you be able to weigh in? You absolutely should be able to weigh in. And like I said, I've met some of the smartest and intelligent people in this. And so anyway, it's nice to hear somebody say that they think there's some value to it. That makes me feel good.
And I want to say that person's exact review, that is completely why I teamed up with you. One of the reasons. Because I feel like I'm a really good writer and I love writing, but I honestly feel like I'm not really that great of a speaker. And when I saw you speak, I'm like, oh my gosh, people are so drawn to your speaking style and they love learning and you're so intelligent. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I could, I guess maybe combine like some of my stuff with what you do, I feel like that would bring more people to our conversation. And
it's so funny too, because most people don't know this, but like I never did any speaking ever in my life before town halls for 277 when we first met.
Right. Oh wow.
And this is just to show other parents out there, you might think this isn't you. You don't have the ability to speak on this or educate people. You would be surprised at the skills that will reveal themselves to you in times of stress and the times of when we're scrambling and we're being pushed against a wall. You would be surprised because speaking was one of my least favorite things to do. I'm a singer and I'm used to being on stage, but
you love talking.
I do like to talk. I talk in person with people. I love to talk with people and but being on stage talking and speaking to a couple hundred people who are literally listening to your every single word is a terrifying experience, I think, for most people. And until you do it frequently, it won't become more comfortable. And, even for us, there are, moments it's uncomfortable, but it's just funny to hear somebody say that, to give me a compliment on something that I have never done, that I've never felt confident in and comfortable with. Like whenever I would be introduced during a singing performance, like I literally would be like cueing the people to start the music on the way up to the microphone because I just always felt so awkward with those opening remarks, on a mic. It always was
that's true. You do look awkward up there a little bit. But I just want to add that you were the first friend that I made in this fight that I felt like was exactly on my level of, I guess, like being pro-vaccine versus anti-vaccine versus being in the middle. You were like exactly on my same page. And like everything I would think, you would think also, or you might be a little bit different level.
Yeah, but within the same.
Right. And even on a lot of our conversations, you even often will say, like, I have an idea and I want to say, let's talk about this. And you're like, well, no, that's a little bit too like anti-vaccine. We need to kind of bring it more into the middle, or like I would do the same thing and we kind of balance each other out. So, it's just like, every person I talk to in this battle, I have so many friends in this battle that I really love and get together with, but I've never met someone that's like just on the exact same wavelength on pretty much every issue and every aspect of this issue. So I don't know. It just felt we'd be a kind of a fun, interesting match in this, and it seems like we are because that was 4 years ago. And
yeah, and maybe we should just segue into that topic for this episode about labeling and the reviews. Since this is kind of in line with that, we're talking about reviews anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a long episode. But
no,
why don't we move forth with that?
Was there? Do you have the reviews pulled up?
Oh no,
for that or no?
No. It's more a discussion about this. So I told Dr. Bob the other day, the review I read this morning is nice and favorable.
You mean not every review is?
Not every review is favorable. And let me tell you guys, like, I will admit to all of you listening right now, I am not everybody's cup of tea. Like, that's the reality, is I have a kind of personality that somebody explained to me the other day, which is a friend of mine, which made so much sense, is the kind of strong personality that I have ends up having polarizing reviews.
Right.
Actually, we were talking about the middle ground episode is what we were talking about, and how people on there reviewing me were attacking my bangs like most of the time, and not what I was saying. They were attacking what they thought of me being bitchy and aggressive. And some of the reviews said I look like the kind of person that would complain to the manager that the food's not right. Stuff like that, which, hey, I'll be honest. If I order something specific and I'm paying for that meal and it does not come out how I wanted it, and I'm not talking about like the garnish is on the wrong side of the plate, but I'm talking like I asked for no cheese and now this thing is covered in cheese and I'm trying to avoid dairy. Yes, I will send that back.
Yeah, Cheryl's the exact same way. She's she very politely and respectfully, exactly. Restaurants are.
But what happens?
For her too.
Yeah, what happens when you're a woman who is strong?
Sorry, can I just say?
Yeah, go.
It's funny about the bangs because way back in 2007, people said the same comments about your bangs.
Really?
Yeah. On some of the reviews of all that went down. Which
My
is
bangs.
Okay.
Listen, guys, these bangs, they're here to stay. Like, just, you know what? Get used to welcome the bangs. We need a hashtag. Accept the bangs. They're there. They're there to stay. It's how I make myself look younger. No, I'm just kidding. I like them. I love my bangs. I get so many compliments on them. Like, honestly, and it's just a way to look like my hair is done without doing anything. So it is working for me. I'm sorry for those it's not working for.
I went with bangs today too. I just cut my hair really short. And so everything's just sort of, anyway. Yeah. Yes. What were you talking? You were talking about something more important than your bangs.
No, sorry. I was just thinking, and I know that there are other women out there listening who have in their lives been accused of being too strong, too much, having too many opinions. And I've mentioned this before on this podcast that we still absolutely live in a patriarchal society. Like, we cannot deny that that is the reality. We've come a long way, sure, but there's a lot of subconscious biases, a lot of ingrained generalizations and stereotypes about women that still make it like, if you're going to have an opinion, it better not be strong, because a strong opinion from a woman is either irrational, emotional, hysterical, or just not as valid as that same exact strong opinion from a man. And so we still live in that environment. And so what happens is, if you end up being one of those women that is like, I'm going to let my voice be heard, or in my case, I don't want to hear my own voice. I want to discredit something that's false. And so, if somebody says something wrong, I will stand back up to that.
Right.
Not because I'm like, everybody listen to me, but more like, no, that's wrong. Let me correct that thing. I want solutions. So in the end, that turned out being my voice as part of that, but that was never my intention, especially in this fight. In this movement, I never wanted to be, I did not want my face on the banner for this podcast, originally. I don't put my first and last name and everything on everything, because the only time I will add my name to something is if it's a factual analysis or a post or something that I utilize
I
facts.
noticed that, yeah.
And I do that because I want people to have a way to come back to the source citations. And if they have questions and they don't believe it, then I want them to know where they can come to where I can prove it to them.
Right.
Not because I want everybody to be like, hey, look at me. And that's the thing about me is like, as much as we're at these town halls and I'm up on that stage and we're doing this podcast, it has never, ever been my intention to be at all a face of this movement.
Right.
Not because I'm ashamed to be associated with it, not in any way. I don't want to be a face of any movement. I want to be able to have my life and
and I totally notice that about you, and I feel like you're totally right when you said you're not everyone's cup of tea, because you're so confident and poised and energetic and intelligent. People then kind of assume that you love the limelight and you love,
I can see that.
and you totally just eat it up, and because you are a performer, and I think performers are you're trained to come across that way. I want to tell everybody.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, dude, I had a good point.
That was a good. I mean, that's a good. I haven't even thought about that.
Right, but I want to tell our audience, and something that you don't see about Melissa is every time I try to compliment you or like thank you for doing something, you did a great job, you're like, okay, let's move on to the next thing. Or you accept it, you're appreciative of it, especially I think personal comments and stuff or compliments, but I feel like you don't need that from you like you just want to keep doing the work and move on to the next thing. You don't need praise and compliments and so I think every time you do something amazing in our writing or whatever, and I'm always like, oh, that's so awesome, I love what you did. You're like, you say thanks. I mean, I think you're very appreciative, but it's like you don't need that. You're just like, okay, let's it's like that that doesn't feed your ego, because you don't need your ego fed, because you're already you're very confident. And so I just totally noticed that about you. You're very humble. You never look humble, like in public, but you're an extremely humble person, just on a personal level, because you don't need, I think that kind of feedback, although I'm sure you appreciate it just as much as the next person.
Well, I'll tell you what I appreciate. I appreciate the comments and messages that I get from people that say that the work that we're doing helps to empower them or educate them or has changed their lives.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff where I go, oh my God, this is making a difference.
Yeah, that feeds you, because people are doing it. It's not because you're doing it, it's because people are getting fed by this.
It's not complimenting me.
Right.
It's complimenting our work, that it initiated action within somebody else, and that is so powerful to me. It's the same way that I've learned in singing performances. I've been singing professionally since I was 13. Mm-hmm. My initial approach to singing was, let me impress everybody with my voice. Let me do the big notes. Let me do the runs. Let me make this complicated so that you at the end of the performance will be like, wow, you're such a good technical singer. Yeah. I'm impressed by what you did. Well, can I guess what I think you changed to?
Go ahead. I mean, you want people to feel you through your music, feel your, I don't know, just your heart and your person. You want them to be then touched by it, not by the skill, but by the heart of it. I guess I'm just guessing.
Okay, so it's partly right. I don't want them to feel me. I want them to feel something.
Okay, right.
And the greatest compliment I can ever get, that I do get often when I perform now, which is the most rewarding thing I can hear, is when someone says, I was moved to tears. Wow, this song made me think of a loved one, a friend, a whoever, my life, whatever. Mm-hmm. I was moved during your song. I felt something, and it resonated with me. It's like, to me, the power level of that is, infinitesimally, how would I say that? I guess maybe that's not the right word. It's exponentially, that's what I'm looking for. Exponentially greater than the person who said, oh my God, you just did a run with 4 notes effortlessly, and your pitch was perfect, you landed well, the timing was great of that run, you just held a note for 10 seconds, you had this perfect power on, whatever. Yeah. The technical aspects of singing, I realized, let me impress you with what I do, that is the ego feeding thing, where when you say, I want to transmit something to you, I want to be a conduit, I want to be a messenger of something. And when somebody can actually feel something that you initiated, that's the kind of stuff. And this is no different. Yeah. This is exactly the same.
Yeah, what we're doing here. Yeah. And then, I guess we were going to talk about anti-vaccine, I mean,
That's what-
labels. I guess that's today's topic.
Right, but that's part of it. But first,
no,
I wanted to
right,
the reviews, talk about this idea of reviewing people. And then we'll talk about the labels. So I'll put this in two things so that you know. So what I wanted to talk about when we do get those reviews that maybe aren't so favorable, and I'm not talking about the people who think we're misinformation, because I mean, honestly, I pay zero attention to somebody who's somebody who's going to leave a review or personally feels that we are giving misinformation. If you're listening right now, I give you zero attention, and I give you zero attention because you're full of it.
Right.
Like, the bottom line is you are absolutely wrong. There is nothing in what we've ever said that is misinformation, inaccurate information, or unfactual information.
Right. Absolutely. And people label everything that has to do with a vaccine side effect, a vaccine reaction, vaccine risk, lack of vaccine safety studies,
questioning
everything. That's all labeled as misinformation. You know, we call it more information or just plain old information. Informed consent. But no, you're right. That's what everyone labels. And so I guess if you want to give us a really negative review and you want us to read your review, make it a 3-star review. You know, I read the 3 stars, the 4 stars.
The stars.
No, I mean, I skip all the 1 stars because I know they're not, you know, they're not going to give us constructive criticism. But I read the 3-star stuff because they're going to be like, I like this and I didn't like this, and here's some constructive, feedback.
Well, I'll say that anybody that starts off a review with "you two are dangerous and are monsters and need to," I wouldn't even read it, not because it's not favorable, but because it's not accurate. Like, I am not worried about anything that we're doing being anywhere remotely close to that, because I know the level of research and I know the level of accuracy in what we are talking about. Listen, I'm sorry if it goes against the mainstream. I'm sorry if you've been told something else the rest of your life. If this doesn't go along with that makes you uncomfortable and you feel the need to lash out at us. But I will not apologize for this information, because this information is 100% accurate and I stand by that 100%. I'm not worried that we are swaying people with misguided, or skewed. No, there is none of that in this. And we are really careful about making sure that everything we bring to the table. We're going to have our own opinions on it, and we have a right to those opinions. But nowhere in this have we ever told somebody to think or feel or act or be a certain way. Absolutely not. And people that think this is one-sided, listen, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste one half of every single episode rehashing for you the thing that you have heard 40 times already today on NPR and CNN and AAP and the CDC and every other organization.
We said that in the first episode. We said, that we will be balanced and objective and give that side when it's important. But you're right. We're not going to, it is just a waste of your time and our time. You're right, because you're totally right. You are already hearing that. We are trying to give you the middle ground and the other side that you're not hearing.
So to clarify, because one review said, you said that in your first episode, but it turns out it's very biased. So listen, our viewpoint is very middle ground. What we are providing you is, going to be everything that contradicts what's being said. Because again, I'm not going to waste my time repeating what has been heard over and over and over again. The reason we have this podcast is because what we are hearing over and over again is not the whole story. That's the whole reason we have this podcast.
Exactly. And if you want something balanced, like every single one of our disease episodes we do say all the exact gory details of each disease. I get down and dirty with it and say, this horrible thing could happen to you from that disease, and I tell you how likely it is. And but I bet the 1-star reviewers aren't even happy with that, because then we share the other side. We share the vaccine risk very openly. But I think if you're looking for if you really just want only the objective episodes, just look through the menu and listen to each of our disease episodes, and you'll get both sides without the PR.
But I don't know if that's even objective. I think if you want things that reinforce your choice to fully vaccinate your children and follow everything the way that you've been told, this just isn't the podcast
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. They're not listening to episode 43.
I mean,
today.
Yeah, I mean,
they stopped after 2 or 3 episodes.
And it's not because we're trying to be one-sided or biased or anything else. We are trying to offer a conversation that's not happening.
Right.
And in order to have a conversation on a complex topic, you have to have both sides. So what's happening is there is essentially, what I basically see as propaganda. Like you're basically getting paid information that is only on one side of a very complicated and complex topic. Right. I don't believe any complex topic, religion, politics, all these things, you can never have one side of the information to make your own informed and educated opinion. You have to have both sides. Where are you going to get the other side of this? It's not happening anywhere.
Right, exactly. And you basically need to completely go outside of the media PR system if you are going to get objective information. Everything you're being fed through the media, and sadly, largely through your own personal physicians, are simply carefully crafted media sound bites that were talking points that were specifically crafted to make you accept something. You are never getting an objective scientific opinion from the media. Shouldn't say never, but virtually never.
Almost not now. Almost now never, it's gotten so much worse. Like 10 years ago, there was some of that
better,
out there.
Right.
It's
so I think we basically try to give you the non-media PR version of both sides of the issue. I guess is kind of
in our viewpoint, but what our content is going to be focused on the side that's not being shown. Don't misinterpret that as meaning that we are one-sided. We are not one-sided. We're trying to bring a one-sided conversation that's already one-sided to the table and bring the other side of it, which is what we're doing. Right. But speaking of constructive criticism, okay, so when I know, I'll speak for myself because maybe you did feel this way, but for me, when I ask people to give reviews, I'm not asking you to weigh in on our personality styles, our personality characteristics, how loud someone's voice is, how often someone talks. I'm not asking you to weigh in on whether you think I'm too passionate, which is an actual review. I'm too passionate, according to this review. And being too passionate, according to this reviewer, makes me too anti-vaccine.
Right.
And I'll address that in a second. But this idea of constructive criticism being let's attack the person in our review, that's not what I'm looking for. And I don't think that's constructive. Right. If you have a personal note that you think you want to address that you feel has a place that really could make a difference, you should message us at Immunity Education Group Facebook page. Make that a private message. To do a public iTunes review about somebody's personality style is ineffective. This has nothing to do with the conversation we're having. And so when I ask for reviews, I want to know the topics that really resonated with you, how you were able to take this conversation and start it in your own circles, and what the feedback was, how you've had successes in this now because you feel empowered. If there's a topic you want us to cover that we haven't covered, put that in a review so that we can see it. Please don't waste your time and our time. Are you okay? Please don't waste anyone's time reviewing us and who we are as people. Mm-hmm. Because that's the part where I think that as a culture, we've gotten really far out of line. Every social media article, people are just jumping on how somebody looks. Right.
But
how they're dressed.
But even that's a PR tactic.
You're right.
They've been attacking me that way for years because pretty much no one can say anything scientifically against anything I write. And, other doctors have published science articles and everything. They can't refute it on the science, so they basically attack the person.
Yeah.
And then that's what they do in the media, and that's a very effective media tactic.
And it's very immature.
Right.
And it feels like being on the school playground and having somebody attack you for having too big of a nose or having hair that is thin or whatever the things could be for somebody.
Yeah. Bullying and public shaming are great tactics on the playground. You're right. And if you were in elementary school, that would be awesome. I mean, if you want to be a grown-up adult and be a scientist and have an intelligent conversation, you're right. There is no room for bullying and public shaming. And what's interesting is we are constantly trying to teach our children to not be that way. Yet as a society, as a society, adults are that way in this fight.
Yeah,
they're totally, you in the media, people on the pro-mandate side, the ardent pro-vaccinationists that we just listened to. They are bullies and they're public shaming. They're kindergartners on the playground, essentially. And they lose a lot of credibility for that. But the sad thing is it works among the uneducated public, the uneducated masses. They buy into it. They believe it.
The lowest common denominator.
Yes, exactly.
The lowest common denominator will resonate with that level of communication. But I got news for you. I'm not the lowest common denominator. I am not.
Yeah,
I am operating
I'm
at
not
a
the
higher,
lowest either, right? I'm.
You're not close. No, we are operating at a higher level here. You want to go at me, argue me on my content.
Right.
Do not talk about how I talk, how passionate I am, or my hair. Okay, seriously, like argue my content. You have a problem with something I've said because you think it lacks scientific basis. Then come at me, bro.
Yeah. So here's the challenge. Here's the challenge. If you want to write a 1-star review, Don't start it out with a personal text. Start it out with, I have a scientific question about your content, Melissa or Dr. Bob. Here's my question. I'm happy to read that and and give you some feedback on it.
Well, I mean,
as long as it's not a PR question. Well, maybe
we can't
even
review
on
it,
but on the episode. Yeah, I mean we can do it on the episode. Anyway, there's your challenge. Right?
Yeah. So listen, and this doesn't just go for our show. If you are going around on social media sites weighing in with what you think is your valuable opinion and you are attacking people's personality traits, you're doing it all wrong. Okay? It is not effective to attack how somebody looks, how they act, how they talk. You should be reviewing people on content. Content. This goes for anybody, not just on a podcast, on anything that you see people on Facebook saying.
Right. But then it's just, my study versus your study.
But that's not the conversation I'm saying. If you have a problem with content, then you should say, you're discussing waning immunity. And from my understanding, according to my doctor, these vaccines have lifelong immunity. So this doesn't feel like something that's accurate. Do you want to defend that concept? Okay, you don't believe waning immunity exists? Okay, let's show you where it exists. And then once we agree that that's something that exists, we can wipe that one off the table.
Right.
This is not going to be going after people, and it's not going to be personal insults, and it's not going to be my study versus your study, because I have news for everyone. There are studies on both sides.
Right.
I'm not going to deny that there aren't studies that support what they're saying.
Right.
Of course there are studies that support what they're saying.
Right.
I've never been one to say, you have no science to prove this. There's a lot of science to prove a lot of what's being said, but there is not a lot of that science in many cases. Some cases there's none of that as it relates to like the cumulative vaccine schedule and the health long-term effects. But there is also a lot of funded science.
Right.
And so, yes, you're going to be able to show me an article. I will never sit here and tell you that that's not a possibility. I know that I've seen those articles. I've seen them. But what I'm telling you is that there are also other articles. And the fact that those other articles exist should be enough to raise the red flags about how certain we are that the science is settled.
Right. And I think another way is there's a lot of assumptions that have been made where people assume there's science out there that supports something where there really is not.
True.
And so a lot of time, and then we'll have science that shows the other side of it, where the actual complete opposite of that assumption is true. And so that's where in a lot of ways. But I don't know. So do you want to even make labeling the next episode? And, we're 40 minutes into this one.
We missed you guys. That's why. Not quite, right?
Okay. Well, 35 minutes into this one.
But part of that was just opening.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just, or do you want to?
I don't know.
Sure. I guess we can make it a reviews episode.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
All right.
Yeah, okay. Well, we've been wondering if you guys want like more frequent episodes that maybe are a little shorter. Maybe we'll do that a little bit.
I think that's probably, we'll go with that for a little bit. Okay, all right. Sorry, guys. I was going to go somewhere else. We'll come back with a second episode that talks, and I'll give you the hint. Remember what we're talking about. this idea of labeling in this movement, labeling something anti-vaccine, labeling someone an anti-vaxxer. Who creates the labels? What do they mean? What are the connotations? And what's the real purpose behind the labeling? So we're going to go into that next episode.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining us. Please do not give me a bad review about this review about reviews.
I know, but this was fine. This wasn't even, science or anything. Sometimes we just love talking.
This is the conversation,
having a conversation.
Right? The vaccine conversation.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
thanks for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
We're gonna be the peace we wanna see in the world. Yeah, be the peace we wanna see in the world. Be the love we wanna see in the world. Be the joy we wanna see in the world. Be the change we wanna see in the world.
The information in this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as medical advice. Always consult your healthcare professional for information on vaccines and infectious diseases.